Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD Podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD Podcast. And we're going to have an absolute blast today because we're going to be talking about something that I think is so cool, which is this concept of all of us having the opportunity to become a GOAT, like greatest of all time. I did do a bit of growing up in Nigeria. And so I remember the first time seeing this GOAT thing on Facebook. I'm like, GOAT? Why would anybody want to become a GOAT? But you can't tell anybody. But greatest of all time, do we have the opportunity? And the answer is yes. And in this episode, I want to show you what that means for you and how exactly you can do that. Okay. So we are all in a game, right? And I like to think of myself as an athlete. I like to think about myself as an Olympian. I like to see myself as a champion. I choose to think about myself that way. And the game I'm playing is the game of life, and I'm competing, okay? But I'm not competing with another physician. I'm not competing with another entrepreneur. I'm not competing with another influencer. I am competing with the best version of me, right? I am striving to become that person. That's my driver. And because that's my driver, I'm not too bothered by what other people are doing, because me becoming somebody else I don't win the prize when I become somebody else. I win the prize when I become me, when I explore more of my potential, where I explore more of who I can be, right? And so I'm not too bothered by that. I think this is also one of the reasons why I don't settle, right? And when I say I don't settle, I don't mean I'm not content. Like, I'm content. I love my life. I don't need to do anything different. I don't need to have more. I don't have to have a different kind of house or a different kind of car. I don't have to have a different kind of education. I am content with what I have. And so the energy I put towards the things that I do is because I want to become the best version of me, right? I want to explore my potentials. I want to push the needle forward in the business of my life. And so that puts me in this place where I'm playing an infinity game. There's no end to the game. And it's fun. It's a game, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. I'm saying it's fun. It is hard work, and hard work is not a bad thing, right? But that's my driver. That's my motivation. That's what allows me to continue to dream big. That is what, inspires me to dare my fears, because I'm competing. And I have the opportunity to become the greatest of all time, not in basketball, not in football, but in the game of life, where I'm competing with the ultimate opponent, if you will, myself, the best version of me. Okay. So for instance, some may argue, like, somebody may have a business my size and they're just like, yeah, I can take it easy because I know how to create results. Like, I don't need to do anything extra. Right. But the thing is this, that best version of me has the capacity to disrupt an entire industry. That person has the capacity to lead change in the physician community, where when history is being written, it will say, and people were stuck and things were bad for physicians and they didn't own businesses, and even the businesses they did own, private practices, they kind of felt they were not businesses, right? Like, they were practices, not businesses. And they didn't have financial security, and they're devalued in the marketplace and all of that. And then these people who spearheaded the change, they led the charge. And Dr. Uno is one of them, not for pride's sake, but because every time I think about it, I'm like, that's what I'm supposed to do. Right. So when I'm striving to build this business that helps 100,000 physicians, knowing that if we can touch 100,000, then for sure we can disrupt the whole community. That drive is because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what the best version of me did. Right. I also know that I've always been that way, right? And sometimes when you try to figure out what am I supposed to be doing with myself, go back in the day. You'll see these themes that run all across your life. One of the things I've always fought for is to accomplish something so somebody can see that it's possible for them. And so when I think about my journey, like, I'm a physician, I'm a pediatrician, I have a great job. I could have stopped there. Right? Okay, went on to do the private practice. And I'm like, hey, guys, like, the first thing I thought about is, guys, it's not as bad as we thought. Like, even if you're an introvert, you can do it. Even if you have no business education, you can learn the things and do it, and all of that. And so I started helping people informally, and I'll showcase what I've done. Like, look, you can do it too. In fact, there's somebody in my world, he was like, I've been a pediatrician for 7 years and I've always wanted to start my private practice. This woman here has been a pediatrician. She just graduated 18 months ago, and here she is in her own practice, and she's doing such a great job. And he went on to start his own practice. Like, so I have this feel like I'm a vision board of sorts for people. I'm a mirror. Like, when you look at me, you're like, huh, so I could do that. Right? Yeah, I feel like I'm a billboard of what is possible. And because of that, in my business, I strive, and I strive to hit results. And as private as I am, I talk about my results. I die 1,000 deaths when I do that. But I talk about them because I'm like, I know the best version of me is a billboard, right? Is a vision board for somebody. So those are some of the things that I'm chasing. I'm like, I'm going to be the greatest of all times, right? Compared to me, not compared to anybody else. There are two people in this competition, me and me. That's it. Okay. And that's the way I think about it. So when I'm pushing, I'm like, I want to have multiple 7-figure businesses. I mean, like, what is the point? Is to be a vision board, is to show that it's possible, is to say, come on, guys, we can. And, when we push, then we're number 29, and which I'm so grateful for, number 29 on the Inc. regional list of fastest growing companies in the Southeast region. I'm posting that on social media. Again, died 1,000 deaths. But I'm like, I would love for doctors to be on the Inc. 5000. I would love for this to be a place where we are, because there are not a lot of physicians there at all. And we don't even think of, playing on the playing field of entrepreneurs, because we don't identify as entrepreneurs, right? And so this is all about chasing those things, because that's what the best version of me did. And so I want to bring this to you. I want you to think about your business. I've talked to enough physicians, right? I've coached hundreds of physicians at this point. And I've had doctors who would tell me, Yeah, I would give some shout outs actually. Dr. Arinola, she's like, Dr. Arinola Dada, she's a rheumatologist in Seattle. And she's like, we're building the center of excellence for rheumatology in the greater Seattle area. So that's her own version of some level of a GOAT project, right? Like, and becoming the greatest of all times means becoming that, building that, putting that out there. Do you see what I mean? And some other people are like, I want to work full time and replace my physician's salary. I want to show that it can be done. And doctor in EntreMD Business School, and they've done it. Like, there are these things that you see. Sometimes you don't even want to talk about them. You don't want to voice them out loud. But I'm inviting you. I'm inviting you to become the greatest of all time. I'm inviting you to stop rolling over and playing dead. I'm inviting you to take the bull by the horn and decide, I'm going to become the best version of me. What other people are doing, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. I'm inviting you to get in the fight, to get in the ring, to put on your shoes and get on the court. But become. You know, if you've listened to the podcast, you've heard me talk about this. Like, I'm going to die empty. I'm going to do all the things that I'm going to explore my potentials to the fullest, squeeze every last drop of yumminess on the inside of me out, and the ground can have my body, right? Like, that's the way. So I'm inviting everybody, greatest of all time, explore. And a lot of times what stops us from exploring our potential is fear. It really is fear. And so when you feel fear, now you're smart enough to go like, why? Right? Because if it means you're stepping out of your comfort zone, my goodness, step out of the comfort zone already. Okay. All right. So let's say great of all time is like, you secretly wanted to build a successful business, right? You wanted to take it to 7 figures, but you're like, I don't know if I can. Okay. And so I want to give you a few things that you can do. Start this, trip this journey of goating. So number one, a lot of times, as kids, we imagine, we dream, we do all of those things. Oh, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to go to the moon and all this stuff. And the longer you stay on Earth, the more life beats the dream out of you. And so a lot of times we are working towards things that we don't see internally, right? Like, I'm going to build a 7-figure business, but on the inside, the picture you see is a picture of failure, is a picture like, I can't pull that off. I'm not the kind of person to do that. And so the first step is really to paint the picture. Like, if I did do it, what does that look like? If I did build the business of my dreams, what would that look like? What is that 7-figure business? Okay, I'm a coach. I have this number of clients. I have this group program. Like, what does that look like? I have a private practice. It's me and another doctor. We did this, we did that. What does that look like? Paint the picture. The first thing is paint the picture. The second thing is making a quality decision. I'm going to do this. Indecision, I had a mentor who said this, indecision is a form of self-abuse. Like, you can say absolutely or absolutely not, but see, that place right there is a dangerous place to be, because nothing happens there. All right. And you're paralyzed. You don't take any decisions. You don't go forward. You don't go backward. You don't do it. And there are people who've lived for years in limbo, right? Make a decision. You may not have the how. The how follows the decision. The decision doesn't, the how to doesn't come first. I remember the first time I decided I'm going to build a business that does 7 figures in revenue. I couldn't even imagine doing high 6 figures. I could not imagine it, right? But it started with a decision. I'm going to do this. I could not imagine how I would pull it off. It started with the decision. And here we are, many 7-figure and even multiple 7-figure businesses later. Make a decision. Make a decision. Indecision is a form of abuse. Stop abusing yourself. Okay. So this is what life could look like, because you have the power you have the power to do that. You have the power to create that kind of business. This is what my business would look like. Paint a picture. What is it? Paint the picture. Come over here, make a decision. I'm going to build that. What if it doesn't work? It's already not working. What if it does work? Right? So make a decision. Number three. Then change your internal picture. So you've painted the picture out here, like what your business could look like. And then you're going to come back and you're going to switch it out with the picture you have on the inside. I want you to think about it. You're here. You're like, on the inside, you're like, I can't do 7 figures. I just can't do that. Right? Okay, so you paint the picture outside. So for instance, you may have done a vision board, right? Like, so you have a vision board, it's outside. But the real magic happens when the vision board leaves the board and it comes on the inside, where that's the picture you're walking around with. Because what you walk around with, and this may sound woo-woo to you, but it's not. What you walk around with is what you produce at the end of the day, because you are going to act in a way that's congruent with the way you see yourself. Right. And so if you see that I'm not that kind of person, the most I can do is 200,000 in business, you're going to act like the person who is running a $200,000 a year business. And because you act like that person, you're going to have those results. It really is as simple as that. Now, the process of changing the picture takes a minute. Okay, it takes a minute. I'll give you an example. I had a target for the number of books for the EntreMD Method book that I wanted to sell. And if you haven't bought that book, oh my goodness, go get it. It's amazing on Amazon, EntreMD, the EntreMD Method. But I had this goal. I put it on my vision board and I looked at it. I was like, there's no way. Now, remember, it was on my vision board and I had made the decision. But on the inside, I'm like, you can't how are you going to do that? But I had the vision board there and I would stare at it and I would stare at it. You know, it was in my office. So every time I look up, I'm looking at it. And I still remember the day. I still remember the day where I looked at that picture and looked away. When I caught my subconscious thought, my subconscious thought was like, of course we're going to do that. Of course we are. Right? So it took a minute. It took a number of weeks. What is the diligence of doing that work to change the inside, the internal picture, right? And so you can do that with a vision board. You can do that by spending time with mentors who have been where you're trying to go, because the more you sit with them, the more you're like, wait a minute, right? Like when you're trying to build a 7-figure business and you're hanging out with somebody who does 20 million a month, there's something it does to you, you know? And this is why I love the community in the EntreMD Business School. This is why I promote a lot of talking about revenue, especially in our in-person events, because it's somebody's vision board, somebody else's your vision board. Like it's just crazy. And so mentors, community, just like we do in the EntreMD Business School, your vision board, books, right? Written by, people, podcasts. I love listening to, episodes that are like literally, they're like audio versions of autobiographies, and people are sharing what they've done because it stretches you, and you may not get, as big as they are, but you can go back to the way you used to be. Right. And so is that work? Will you be diligent enough to listen to those podcast episodes, diligent enough to read the books, diligent enough to be in the right community? Even if you have to pay to be in the community, will you be diligent enough to have the right coaches, mentors, all of those kind of things? Because what does that do? That changes the picture. Once the internal picture changes, the way you act changes, the results you get will change. Okay. So number four, you start taking action now. Okay. So what I've seen people do is they have this big dream of what's going to happen, right? And they start talking about it. They start telling people about it. They start posting about it on social media, and they're doing all the things, and they're waiting. Nothing happens when you wait, right? So no matter how big that picture is, there's an action you can take now that creates a version of that result. So for instance, I'm going to build $1 million business, and you're a coach and you have 4 clients and you have the capacity to have 10. What do you do right now? You sell and sell and serve and sell and serve and sell until you fill your panel up to 10. Is that going to give you $1 million? Most likely not. But when you do that, then it becomes easier. Like, oh, we're in a position, and with all the selling we've done, we've built this brand. People know us. We can now launch our group program and this. But if you're waiting, nothing happens when you wait. So when you're done dreaming, you come back over here and you start working. You start putting in the reps. You start creating results. You start doing the best with the information you have at the time. And as you do, you will learn more. Okay. That's the way it works. So you start taking action. And if you're wondering, where do I take action? Just look for everywhere where it's the status quo, where it's comfy, what will be, and all of those things. Take it up a notch. Take it up a notch, right? Like you're trying to build this brand, like dominant brand. And one of the ways is you need to be on other people's platforms. And, for the last year, you've been a guest on one podcast a week. And one podcast a month. Why don't you 4X it? Make it one podcast a week. I don't have time for that. The average interview is 30 minutes. You don't have 2 hours to build a dominant brand? Of course you do, right? You look at your social media. Every 8th post has a call to action. Maybe it's time to change that, right? You should hire a team. There's a critical hire that is the next thing to do. And you've been comfy where you are. You're like, I can do these things myself. Well, now is the time that you're like, okay, I need to bring that person on board. Up level. Find everywhere where there's a status quo, up level. The service you're delivering to the clients that you already have, up level. Take everything up. Take it up a notch. What are you doing? You're doing all of this so you can become the greatest of all time. We all have the opportunity to become a GOAT. Okay. All right. So what do I want you to do? I want you to do this. Okay. I want you to, from where you are. So maybe you did 250 grand last year. And you're like, I want to do 750 this year. I want to do $1 million this year. Right? I want you to paint the picture. What does that look like? What does your team look like? What kind of clients do you have? What's the pricing of your offer? All of those things. Look at that. Then make a decision. And don't worry if it's not perfect. Okay. Then make a decision. I'm going to do that. Okay. Then do the work to change your internal picture. Like, okay, if I'm going to build a business that's going to do $1 million in revenue, the people who do that, what do they look like? How do they show up? What do they do? What is all of that? To change that internal picture, to hang out with all that stuff long enough, so that becomes your default thinking. And then you start taking action from where you are right now. Right now. And as you know better, you do better. As you know bigger, you do bigger. But you start from where you are right now to step out of the status quo. Like, reject all the status quo things. The status quo things will give you your status quo results. If you want to have bigger results, you're going to have to do different things. Okay. Now, I don't know how you are taking this. You're like, this is too simple. I'm looking for something more complicated. Or you're like, I need the tactical, right? Or whatever that is. But this is the process I used to take my first business to where it is now. Second business to where it is now. This is the same process that I've helped a number of the doctors in the EntreMD Business School leverage to create results that will make your ears tingle, right? And so I'm inviting you to not have learnitis. Learnitis means I heard it, interesting, I'm not doing it, okay? I want you to take this, I want you to act on it, because if you do, you're going to be sending me a PM, private message, and you're going to like, Dr. Una, you will not believe what happened. And I'll tell you, oh, yes, I will. Oh, yes, I will. I've been waiting for this PM. Tell me all about it. Okay. I want that to be your story. I want you to leave the status quo. I want you to experience a quantum leap. I want you to build a business that will blow your mind. I want you to turn. And I heard my mentor say this. One day he's just like, I just love the way I think. And I'm like, what? And now I find myself like, I just love the way I think. I love the way I am. I love the way I act. I love the way I respond to challenges. I love it. I want you to meet you. Oh, you will love you. I want you to meet the next level version of you. You will love that version of you. You will love the kind of results that person creates. You will love the kind of life that person lives. You will love it. I want you to experience that. Okay. So go do this. And this is an episode that you definitely want to share with the doctors in your life. They will thank you forever. So post it on social media, hashtag EntreMD, tag a few of your docs in the comments, tell them, look, just don't pass go, don't collect 200, go listen to this episode. Okay. Because I want you to imagine 100,000 doctors deciding to be the greatest of all time. Imagine what that will do for the healthcare space. Imagine what that will do to the physician community. Imagine what it will do in the lives of the patients. Imagine what it will do. And you and I, starting from where we are now, right now, can be part of that change. So share the episode, and I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD Podcast. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD Podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to EntreMD.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.